Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where today we're doing a bit of an evening commute in the 2023 Chevrolet Colorado Trail Boss. This is the first opportunity I've gotten to spend with the all-new Chevy Colorado that just came out for the 23 model year, and I thought that at the end of my time with this truck, we'll talk about what it's been like to live with this week, and also embark on a journey from the wilderness, where we are right now, even though I'm in a parking lot, but there's trees and things around, so we'll call it the wilderness. And we're going to commute to the city to see if this truck is still usable on city streets and in a parking garage and some other things like that. So a bit of a living with the Colorado Trail Boss video coming your way here. So some basics with this particular truck right here. Well, it's finished in nitro yellow, which seems to be kind of a trend in today's market. A lot of companies are painting their cars this color. They all have a different name for it, but Kia's got one on the Seltos, Toyota's got one for the Corolla Cross, Chevy's got one here on a number of their cars, the Trax, the Colorado, but it brings the Trail Boss to life, I will give it that. So how about specifics on the actual Trail Boss? Well, the Trail Boss is based off of what Chevy calls the WT, the work truck trim for the Colorado. So the base model, which starts at 33 grand, the Trail Boss starts at 38,000. So it's only 5 grand more than the base model, the lowest trim four-wheel drive Colorado that you can get. So then what do you get on the Trail Boss over the WT? Well, you get different wheels and tires. You get a 2-inch lift. It is 3 inches wider than the work truck. Of course, you get Trail Boss badges, and you have a couple of different things here and there, but there isn't a ton. It's mostly just the lift, the wheels, the tires, and then of course we have some fun Trail Boss badges here. I think overall this is a nice refresh for the Colorado. It certainly needed it. It had been around for a while. Let's go ahead and check out our bed here. This has an optional package that gives us the tailgate that doesn't slam itself down. It just goes down nice and politely. This also has a spray-in bed liner, so you can throw things in here and not damage your beautiful nitro yellow paint job. One thing I've noticed here with the Colorado, we have this little compartment in the tailgate, and I think they all have this because all the trucks that I've seen have it, but I could be wrong. We have this little storage compartment to put straps and other odds and ends that you may carry in your pickup truck. And it locks back in pretty nicely there. There we go. You've also got little steps on the bumper if you want to step up in here, toss things in, step down. It makes it quite easy. But what I want to kind of get into today is, what is this thing like to daily drive? Because yes, it's the Trail Boss. It's meant to do some light off-roading, but 90% of people that buy this are just going to use it for this sort of thing, driving it around, commuting in it, going to their office job. So is it any good at that? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the interior, and we'll start with the back seat, because if you are taking people with you, you may want to know if you have enough back seat legroom. So let's hop in. No side steps on this thing, and you only have this fold down handle. You don't have a handle right here to help yourself get into the truck. Luckily, I am tall enough where I can kind of just step in, but I carried some passengers around this week that had some trouble getting into the Trail Boss. But as far as just backseat room goes, go ahead and shut this. It's pretty decent. You know, it's not the biggest back seat in the world, but luckily Chevy will sell you a Silverado if you want something larger. I think this has plenty of room for its class. One thing we don't have back here is a fold down armrest. We only have these two cup holders here in front of me for your drinks, and that's really about it. Again, this is based off of the work truck trim. So this is a very basic and barren interior, but we'll talk about why that isn't so bad once we step up front. But I realized that I forgot to pop the hood and talk about the powertrain here in the Trail Boss. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that, and we'll talk about what powers this thing. So every Colorado comes with Chevy's 2.7 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. There are a couple different power output options. It's all the same engine, but there's some different tunes, if you will. This one is the mid-grade. Well, it's the only option for the Trail Boss. But anyways, here it is, 2.7 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine in the Trail Boss. Makes 310 horsepower and 390 pound-feet of torque. So this thing is very torquey. It spins the tires everywhere. It gets off the line quite nicely. We'll put our hood prop in here so we can actually take a look around. But the base work truck, again, same engine, but it's got less power. And then if you go all the way up to the ZR2, it makes the same amount of horsepower here, I believe, but it makes more torque. So the biggest difference is in the amount of torque you get from this 2.7 liter 4-cylinder engine. Behind the 2.7 liter, we have an 8-speed automatic, and this particular truck is 4-wheel drive. Okay, let's shut the hood. That fits. Nice. Good ka-thunk there from the hood. And look at this design here. It's almost mountainous. Kind of neat Trail Boss badge here on the front. I think overall looks pretty nice, but you can definitely tell from some of the blocky, plasticky black materials on the outside of this truck that it isn't the top trim, but I think that that's okay. You don't, not all trucks need to be all glitz and glamour now. It's nice that there are kind of some basic offerings that don't break the bank. Capless fuel filler. The Trail Boss starts at 38 grand. This one as spec'd is about 41. So we've got a few options on this truck, but I mean, look at this. It's like they've just kind of molded everything in to one panel. Everything's the same color. Everything is hard, crunchy plastic. Even the seats are like a woven plastic. I mean, they're cloth, but I honestly think you could take a hose and just hose this whole interior out after a day off-roading if you got it dirty, and it would be fine. I mean, the only bit of electronics are up here in the middle on the front of the dash. Everything else is very just black plastic and very simple. So if you like that, then that's great. Let's hop in and start it up. We'll leave the door open so you can hear the 4-cylinder fire to life. Normal GM bangs and bongs, but the most impressive thing that I want to talk about here in the interior of the Colorado is this standard infotainment system here. This is what you get in the base model work truck, is this brand new Chevy infotainment with Google built in and navigation. I mean, it has all of this as a standard option. So a pretty cool thing to see. I mean, it really brings this thing to modern times and doesn't make it feel as cheap as, you know, under first impressions when you get in here. It does look very cheap, but then you get in, you power everything on, and you have these couple of screens here that make it seem less cheap, if that makes sense. I don't know, I feel like I'm saying the same thing 3 times, but hopefully you understand what I'm on about. And well, let's do a quick tour of this interior and then we'll hit the road as we are losing light very quickly. So this infotainment, it's great. I always love GM infotainments. We have wireless Apple CarPlay here with this. Everything reacts very quickly and no real complaints there. We have a volume knob up here, and we have 2 knobs here for our climate control. And I keep thinking this is the volume knob. I go to turn my music up and I end up blasting the fan. So that is one thing. We also have lane keep assist. You can turn that on and off with this toggle switch. The hazard switch is also a toggle, which is nice. We have a few different drive modes, all of which are for off-roading and towing. You have terrain, off-road, tow haul, and normal. We're just going to stick in normal today because we're not going to be taking this thing on any off-road surfaces, because I want to test the real-world drivability of this truck today. So hopefully you all understand that. Let's check the Monroney here. Options on this truck, we have the trailer tow package, Trail Boss Convenience Package 2. We have, which gives us power seat and the tailgate thing that I told you about, spray bed liner, nitro yellow metallic, sliding rear window defrost, and cruise control is an option. Man, that's really something. Total price with destination, $41,055. This is built in Missouri. That's kind of neat. Got some Murica here, some American DNA. We've got some storage spots here for your phone, which kind of has like a camo print to it. It is not a wireless charger, but you've got a couple different USB ports here to do the trick for you. Very traditional automatic shifter, hard plastic shift knob, of course, electronic parking brake, and we've got cup holders here and here. Slots in them, I imagine, for your phone to go into, but I have just found out that they fit perfectly. A battery for a GoPro Hero 11, that fits in there perfectly snug, or a garage door opener. That fits in snug right there. So a couple different multi-purpose uses for the interior of this Colorado. Okay, I'm boring myself. I need to get on the road and see what this thing is like to drive, or show you what this is like to drive. So here's a backup camera, pretty high definition. You can see, we'll back up here. Nice, we're in the weeds slightly, but I love a good HD backup camera. No front camera or side cameras or anything on this truck, just this handful of rear cameras, I should say. I think I've confused it because we're in drive now. Okay, here we go. Let's now exit the park. We have a couple of fellow wilderness enjoyers that are in the middle of the road. Oh, looks like they're going to the side for me. How polite. Now that we're on the road here, kind of, in the Colorado, let's talk about what this thing is like to drive and what it's been like to live with. Well, I've been driving it for the past couple of days, and I'm generally not the sort of person that likes blocky, plasticky, cheap-feeling interiors. And I hope it makes sense when I tell you that I do like this interior. Now, the only thing I would say is that I would like to have a leather-wrapped steering wheel. However, outside of that, I actually don't mind what they've done in here on a budget and keeping this thing starting under 40 grand. Nothing in here squeaks or rattles while you're driving, and that is the most important thing when you're making a cheap interior. I understand you have to save money, there's a budget, all of that, but they've given us the good infotainment screen and they've built a good quality interior around it. Sure, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it gets the job done. And I have a feeling that it'll last. I don't get a sense in here that anything is really going to wear out. In fact, the only thing that worries me is this shift knob, because it is a slightly, well, I guess it is kind of a hard plastic, but I have a feeling over time this shift knob will kind of break down and wear. But other than that, everything in here feels pretty dang tough, including this steering wheel that I don't really like because it's plastic and you can actually feel the mold line on the steering wheel. But whatever. From an actual driving standpoint, it's pretty nice as well. I mean, this 4-cylinder is smooth. It's got a ton of torque. You don't have to rev it out to get yourself going. The 8-speed automatic changes gears as it should. It always knows where it needs to be, and it's smooth. I've just been driving this around in two-wheel drive, as you do on tarmac, and it's really been a joy. This has been one of those cars that has kind of surprised me from the get-go, because I got in this thinking I wouldn't like it, and I really, really liked it this week. And it's up there with one of my favorite trucks in the class, because of course you have the Ford Ranger, which is ancient and the same price as this, so I don't know why anyone would purchase it when this exists. Though we do have a new Ranger coming out for the 24 model year, so we'll have to see if it's improved. The Toyota Tacoma, same story. It's also ancient, but we have a new one coming out for the 24 model year. So this segment is heating up. The only other truck I would say that is in the running for my personal top spot is the Nissan Frontier. I do like that truck quite a bit, and this reminds me the most of that. Lots of hard interior materials and a very solid feeling interior. So we're going to do a bit of driving here on these back roads, and then we will merge onto the highway, go through a hideous construction zone just to see what this thing is like, and then we will go to the city and see if it's livable. Getting out onto the road there, you can see that torque, and this thing actually struggles to put all of its power down. Of course, if you were to put this into four-wheel drive, you would have less of that problem, but in two-wheel drive, it just spins the rear wheels. We do have a locking rear differential in this truck as well. That is another thing you get with the Trail Boss, as well as some skid plates. So a lot of kit here for only 4 or 5 grand more than the basic WT work truck trim. Also, can we take a second to appreciate how quiet this truck is on the road? I'll give you a sec to listen. At 55 miles per hour, I can whisper in here. It's so quiet. So that's impressive within itself. I mean, I drive cars that are much more expensive than this, that are quite a bit louder. And this has something to do, of course, with the fact that we don't have the optional all-terrain tires here on this particular Trail Boss. But if you wanted to be more serious about off-roading, you could, of course, opt for those. But I think this is a pretty good solution here. I mean, I'm happy with this truck. Let's see that torque again. Good amount of power. Okay, so now you may be thinking, since this is a 4-cylinder turbo, it should be quite fuel efficient, and unfortunately you would be mostly incorrect. I started this week, well, I shouldn't even say this week, I started just a couple of days ago with over 3/4 of a tank. I am now down to 1/4 of a tank, and oh God, how far have I driven? I guess this isn't a very accurate metric because only I know how far I've driven, but what I can tell you is this certainly isn't the most efficient vehicle in the class, but that's okay because I like to have 390 pound-feet of torque. I like to be able to get out of my own way, and other than it could probably bear to be a little bit more efficient, no complaints so far with this 2.7 liter 4-cylinder. You guys know I love filming during golden hour. We've got a good sunset going right now, and I'm actually slacking this week because normally I post on Sunday, and you all will be seeing this video on Monday, which is the day after I've recorded it because it's currently Sunday. But I've been traveling this week. It's just been incredibly busy. I'm currently in the process of selling my grandpa's Taurus SHO on Cars and Bids. You all will have the opportunity to purchase that car if you so desire here soon, and I'll of course post about that separately. Anyways, getting off topic. Let's go ahead and hop onto the highway here and see what the Trail Boss is like at some higher speeds. We'll get merged on. A little bit of howl there, and the 8-speed holds gears for you, which is nice. We've got a classic Suburban or a Tahoe or something that is merging. Oh, you all know how I feel about this. We're merging onto a highway going 52, and we've got traffic coming up hot. Let's get around them here. There's our passing power. How about that? Okay. Let's go ahead and set our optional cruise control. That's hilarious. Okay, little bit more wind intrusion here on the highway once you exceed that 70 mile per hour mark. I'll let you get a little taste of that here. And I think some of that has to do with, I don't know for sure, but there are a couple of things with this truck that tell me that it might be a pre-production. One of which is the noise the driver's window makes when you roll it down. It's not good. I won't demonstrate that now because you'll get blasted with wind. There's that. Also, if you noticed in the B-roll and in my walk around, the driver's door is definitely a different color than the rear driver's side door. So just a couple of weird things. This may be a pre-production because it is a press vehicle, so we'll give it the benefit of the doubt there, and we won't dog on the quality because otherwise, I mean, we're going over some bumps now. There are no rattles in here at all. There's none. Not a single rattle. The steering seems to be pretty dialed in though. I have a good amount of control here at 79 miles per hour. So how about some other livability factors here with the Colorado? Well, this has the bass sound system, and well, it's not so bad. Honestly, I thought it was going to be dreadful because this is just, I would imagine it's what you get in the work truck, and it's fine. I mean, it isn't great, obviously, because it's the bass sound system, but being that this is still a GM, you still get a lot of bass, you get a lot of power, and you get these higher mounted speakers here on the dashboard that give you the highs that you look for in a decent sound system. And I'm not mad at anything about this. I'm a little worried about this Volkswagen Jetta here braking. The good thing about the nitro yellow is it makes you seen. Speaking about being seen, let's talk about where General Motors decided to put the headlight switch in the Colorado. I'll give you a second to guess. Where do you think the headlight switch is on this truck? No, it's in the infotainment. There you go. You can turn on your auto brights as well as just normal headlight functions here in the infotainment. So I hope this infotainment lasts. I really do, because I would hate for somebody to be in the situation where they can't turn their headlights on. Though I would really hope that it defaults to just having the headlights on if the infotainment glitches or something. I don't know. That's just a lot for me to kind of think about with, you know, modern cars are just so interesting sometimes with the choices manufacturers make, I imagine, to cut budgets. But hey, if it means that I don't have a rattly interior and I have to have my headlight switch in the infotainment, then so be it, I guess. Let's test our handling on this cloverleaf. Pretty good road holding. Good road manners. Steering weight's up nicely in the corners, man. Oh, and look at this sky. Man, I hope the GoPro picks this up because the GoPro is not always good at picking things up like this. Oh my goodness, that is pretty. This is the sort of drives that I just live for. Being able to look at the sky like this. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, we'll be entering downtown here at this point. We'll do a little bit of city driving and then we will enter Ann parking structure. And we'll see how maneuverable. That's fantastic. Sorry. We'll see how maneuverable the Colorado is. All right, this is a tighter section up here. This is a very narrow road. I have a feeling that this used to be a 1-lane road and then one day they decided to make it a 2-lane road. Because if you're in anything wider than, well, probably this Colorado, it does feel a little bit narrow. I always think, what would it be like to drive down this road in an Aventador? It's not quite, it gets narrower as you go, but yeah, anyways, probably can't tell on camera. The best cotton candy skies tonight. Pink skies are just the best. And guys, I'm really, really loving this Colorado. I'm loving trucks more and more every time I drive one, especially GM trucks. I love the Silverado, I love the Sierra, I love the diesel engines you can get. GM is doing everything right when it comes to trucks. I'm genuinely a really big fan. And with the slightly revised suspension, the 2-inch lift here in the Trail Boss, the ride is excellent. It's just everything you need for Michigan. If you live in Michigan, you know the roads are dreadful, and this road in particular is pretty dreadful. More so if you're going the opposite way. Okay, here's the narrowness I'm talking about. So this is actually a 4-lane road, 2 lanes going in each direction. I'm coming up here on a Dodge Ram 1500, and I don't think I want to drive past him with traffic coming the other way, because I am straddling the lines right now. As you can see in my mirror there, I am on this line and I'm on this line. He's probably about the same width as I am, so you can see it over there as well. So the last test here is just going to be maneuverability, and if you can get this thing in and out of a parking structure easily. This is, now, just because this is a Colorado does not mean it is a small truck. This is still a pretty large item. It's long and it's heavy. It weighs, nice, it weighs 4,600 pounds. I don't know how they make it weigh so much. I understand it's 4-wheel drive, but 4,600 pounds. Everything is plastic. I don't know how it weighs so much. Anyways, it's still a big thing, and it barely fits in Emily's garage. I mean, it's got inches between the front and the rear bumper, which means it's probably about the same size as a BMW 7 Series, because it was the same sort of story with that. I always gauge cars off of Emily's garage. So it's a little bit larger, of course, than Colorados of the past, but manufacturers just do that. Cars just get bigger and bigger and bigger until they have to introduce an entirely new model to replace the vehicle that they've made too big. Like Toyota did that with they made the RAV4 too big, and then they had to make the Corolla Cross, and then Ford made the Ranger too big, so then they had to make the Maverick. So I don't know. Cadillac, wait your turn. Thank you so much. Ann Arbor. We've got cars stopped in the street. We'll navigate those, I guess. We're going to go around the block here just to get some city driving in. Ooh, and I think I see an S2000. Is that what that is? Yes, it is. Nice AP2. Okay. Extra concentration here. We don't want to flatten any college students. Good maneuverability. I mean, the turning circle is decent. I was turning around in a parking lot earlier and I wasn't completely satisfied with the turning circle, but ooh, that's a nice GX. Check that out. I think maybe this is Oh, we got a football going over us. Yes. Sometimes I miss college. Okay, let's go into the parking structure and try not to crash. 7'8" clearance. I don't think we're 7'8", so we should be good. Now, this is a full structure and it is tight. So let's see how we do here with the Colorado. Okay. Yeah. Ooh, another yellow truck. Hello, sir. This is good. Also, the throttle response is forgiving enough to where if you need to kind of put in subtle inputs, you don't want to be jumpy if you're trying to go around a tight corner. No sort of weird throttle response here, which is nice because sometimes American cars are weird in that way. So this is good. Yeah, no complaints here. Of course, people get Silverados in here, so it isn't impossible. I just wanted to kind of see if it was going to be stressful, but no, we are doing this just fine. We are making our way up. So let's go ahead and wrap up. Any final thoughts? I mean, you guys probably have gotten the gist of it by now. This is a super usable truck, and with it being a Trail Boss, you would expect it to be less livable, but I suppose if you jumped all the way up to the ZR2, you'd have some things that would make it less streetable, less comfortable perhaps. But this honestly seems like a pretty good middle ground for if you just want something to daily drive, take to work and back, whatever it may be. The Trail Boss may be a nice option for you, especially if you want to spend under 40 grand, because you can have one of these, like I said, for 38,000 if you don't get any options on it. So that'll just about wrap it up for us today. I'm super pleased with the Colorado, and well, this may be my new recommendation in this class. I used to recommend the Nissan Frontier, but I will say I'm really looking forward to the new Ranger as well as the new Tacoma. I'm sure those trucks will both be great as well. So that'll be the real test on if this can stand up to those once they come out, but I have a good feeling that it will because everything in here works for me. It all has a purpose. It's everything you need and nothing that you don't, and that is good for a truck in this class. So that'll wrap it up for us today. We'll go ahead and park up here on the roof of the parking structure. We made it all the way to the top. Check that out. We used to do car meets up here when I was in high school. I used to come to meets up here back before every car meet turned into a takeover. People could be civilized. Okay, anyways, let's park this up. Let's pull our electronic parking brake, which I think was actually already set. We'll shut it off. We'll take one last look at it. That'll be it for our commute. We actually commuted. We started in trees and now we're in the middle of a city. So I would call that a commute. I wouldn't even call that a fake commute because we actually went somewhere. Take a look at our lights on here. We've got some cool orange lights on the front of this truck. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Comment below what you think. What is your favorite truck in this segment? I think this has got to be mine now. This takes the #1 spot for me. Looking forward to hearing what you think. And, well, thank you again so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.